family betrayal cuts deeper than any knife. My daughter-in-law sent me a text that stopped my heart cold. "You're not family. You can't come on our trip." I'm Ruth Beasley, 72 years old, and I was standing in my living room, suitcase packed by the door, hands shaking so badly I nearly dropped my phone. After 30 years of raising my son alone, after every sacrifice, every missed meal so he could eat, every night I worked double shifts so he could go to college, she told me I wasn't family. But that text, that wasn't even the worst part. What I discovered 3 days later, hidden in my own son's office, would expose a betrayal so deep it would flip everything I thought I knew upside down. Before I continue, drop a comment telling me where you're watching from and what time it is where you are. We need to know how far this story reaches. Also, download your ebook titled Suspense and Thriller Stories by clicking the link in the pinned comment. Because what happened next? Most people wouldn't believe it if I didn't have proof. Let me take you back to where this all started. Birmingham, Alabama, 1983. I was 31 years old when my husband collapsed in our driveway one Tuesday morning. Massive heart attack, gone before the ambulance even arrived. Vincent was 12, still sleeping upstairs when I heard the sound that would change our lives forever. The thud of his father hitting the concrete. I became a widow and a single mother on the same day. I taught 5th grade at Woodlawn Elementary. You know that smell of chalk dust mixed with construction paper and school glue? That was my life for 27 years. Every morning at 6:30, I'd pack Vincent's lunch, ham sandwich, apple slices, 3 cookies I'd baked on Sunday, then drive us both to school in our rusted-out Chevy Nova. Sunday dinners became our ritual, just the 2 of us. Collard greens simmering on the stove, cornbread cooling on the counter, sweet tea so cold it made your teeth hurt. Vincent would tell me about his week while I'd smooth down the cowlick in his hair that never wanted to lay flat. I poured every dollar, every prayer, every ounce of strength I had into that boy. He earned a full scholarship to Auburn, then his MBA, then he landed a job at a prestigious financial consulting firm in Atlanta. My son, who used to do homework by candlelight when we couldn't afford the electric bill, wearing tailored suits and carrying a leather briefcase. I couldn't have been prouder. But there's something I never told Vincent, a secret I kept locked away in a safety deposit box downtown. Something about his father's death that wasn't quite what it seemed. I told myself I'd explain it when he was older, when the time was right. I'm still not sure the time ever came. Vincent was 34 when he brought Jasmine home for the first time. I remember opening my front door and seeing her standing there, honey brown skin, perfectly pressed sundress, lips so glossy they caught the porch light. She carried a designer purse I recognized from a magazine, the kind that cost more than my monthly mortgage. "Mrs. Beasley," she said, extending her hand, "I've heard so much about you." Her smile was beautiful, wide and bright and perfect, but it stopped right at her mouth. Her eyes stayed flat, calculating, like she was appraising furniture at an estate sale. Still, I wanted to love her. Vincent's happiness meant everything to me, and if Jasmine was part of that happiness, I'd welcome her with open arms. They married 3 years later at the Ritz-Carlton downtown. Jasmine's parents paid for everything. The flowers, the band, the ice sculpture shaped like 2 interlocking hearts. I wore my best dress, the navy one I'd bought on sale at Macy's, and sat at table 12 during the reception. I watched Jasmine glide across that ballroom floor in her fitted ivory gown, her veil trailing behind her like a queen's cape. When she finally came over to greet me, she touched my shoulder lightly. "Isn't it wonderful, Ruth?" she said, leaning close so I could smell her expensive perfume. Everything turned out exactly the way I wanted. Not we wanted. I wanted.
That word choice stuck with me, needling at the back of my mind like a splinter I couldn't quite reach. But I told myself I was being oversensitive, old-fashioned. Maybe this was just how modern women talked. I had no idea that was just the beginning.
The changes started small. So small I almost missed them. That first Thanksgiving after the wedding, I was pulling out my grandmother's cast iron roasting pan, the one I'd used for 32 years straight, when my phone rang. "Ruth, hey." Jasmine's voice was bright, cheerful. "So we've decided to host Thanksgiving at our place this year. Start some new traditions, modern touches and all that." My hand froze on the oven door. "Oh, I know you've done it forever," she cut in smoothly. "But it's time to pass the torch, don't you think? We'll see you Thursday at 2. She hung up before I could respond. I showed up with my sweet potato casserole, the one Vincent used to eat straight from the dish when he was little, and watched Jasmine set it on the side counter, barely glancing at it. Her catered spread covered every inch of the dining table. Truffle mac and cheese, herb-crusted rack of lamb, things my family had never eaten on Thanksgiving. Vincent kissed my cheek, distracted. "Isn't this amazing, Ma? Jasmine really outdid herself." I smiled and said nothing. Christmas came next. I brought my famous fruitcake, the recipe passed down from my mother, wrapped in a red tin with a bow on top. She took one look at it, and her nose wrinkled slightly. "Oh, how sweet," she said, turning it over in her hands like it might contaminate her manicure. "We already have dessert planned, but we'll find somewhere to put it." She set it on top of the refrigerator, behind 3 boxes of cereal and a bag of coffee beans, where no one would ever see it. I felt something crack inside my chest, but I kept my face neutral. The Sunday visits started fading after that. For years, Vincent would bring the kids, Caleb and Naomi, over after church. We'd make pancakes shaped like Mickey Mouse, and Naomi would help me water my tomato plants in the backyard. But suddenly, every time I called, Jasmine had an excuse. "Oh, Caleb has soccer practice. Naomi's got a birthday party. They're just exhausted, Ruth. Maybe next weekend." Next weekend turned into next month, then months. Vincent would shrug helplessly when I mentioned it. "Jasmine's just trying to keep the kids on a schedule, Ma. You know how modern parenting is." I didn't know, but I was learning. My 71st birthday arrived on a Tuesday in March. No phone call that morning. No visit that afternoon. At 6:30 p.m., my doorbell rang, and I nearly tripped over my own feet rushing to answer it, hoping. But it was just the mail carrier with a package. The card arrived 3 days later. Generic, store-bought, a picture of flowers I couldn't identify, and inside, Jasmine's hurried signature. No love, no happy birthday, just her name, scrawled like an afterthought. Vincent hadn't even signed it. I sat at my kitchen table that night, running my fingers over the old photo albums I kept in the bottom drawer. Vincent's first day of kindergarten, his high school graduation, the 2 of us at his college signing day, his arm around my shoulders, both of us grinning like we'd won the lottery. When had I become invisible? The phone call came 2 weeks later. I was washing dishes when my cell rang, a number I didn't recognize. "Mrs. Beasley, this is Monica from First National Bank. I'm calling because we had some unusual activity on your account. Someone tried to make inquiries about your savings and checking balances." My soapy hands went still. "Inquiries? What kind of inquiries?" "We can't give specifics over the phone, but we wanted to verify it was you. It wasn't, was it?" "No," I said slowly. "It wasn't." "All right, we flagged it and secured the account. Just wanted to make sure you were aware." I hung up, staring at the suds sliding down my wrist. Someone had been digging into my bank accounts, and I had a sinking feeling I knew exactly who.
Vincent called me on a Monday in late April, his voice crackling with excitement. Ma, great news! We're taking the family to Florida for a week. Rented a beach house right on the Gulf. The kids are gonna love it. My heart lifted. That sounds wonderful. When do we leave? Silence on the other end. Vincent? Oh, well, it's in 3 weeks. I'll send you the dates. He hung up quickly, and I told myself I was imagining the awkwardness in his tone. I started packing that same afternoon. New sundress from Target, my wide-brimmed straw hat, 3 paperback novels I'd been saving for a vacation. I even splurged on a new bathing suit. Navy blue with little white anchors, modest but pretty. The suitcase sat by my front door for 2 weeks, ready to go. On the Thursday before the trip, I texted Vincent. What time should I be ready Saturday morning? I can drive myself to your place if that's easier. 3 little dots appeared, then disappeared, then appeared again. Finally, my phone buzzed, but it wasn't Vincent. It was Jasmine. Ruth, I think there's been a misunderstanding. This trip is for family only. You're not coming. I read the message 3 times, certain I'd misunderstood. My fingers shook as I typed back. I am family. I'm Vincent's mother. Her response came in seconds. You're not part of our nuclear family unit. This is about Vincent, me, and the kids. Please respect our boundaries. Nuclear family unit. Boundaries? The words felt like barbed wire wrapped around my throat. I called Vincent immediately. It rang 4 times before he picked up. Ma, hey, I was just about to call you. Did you know Jasmine just told me I'm not invited to Florida? Another long silence. Listen, he finally said, his voice strained. Jasmine just thinks it'd be better if it's just us this time. You know, parents and kids. We'll plan something with you soon, I promise. When, Vincent? When exactly? I don't know, Ma. Just not this time, okay? He hung up before I could answer. I stood in my living room, phone still pressed to my ear, listening to the dial tone. My suitcase stared at me from across the room, mocking me with its optimism. I didn't cry. Not yet. Instead, I sat down on my couch and did something I hadn't done in years. I opened Instagram. Vincent's account was public. I scrolled through the days he was gone, watching their vacation unfold in perfectly filtered squares. Jasmine in oversized sunglasses, lounging by the pool. Caption, Paradise Found. The kids building sandcastles, their faces bright with joy. Vincent grilling burgers on a beachside deck, spatula in hand, grinning at the camera. And the final post, the one that broke me? A family photo at sunset. Vincent, Jasmine, Caleb, and Naomi, arms around each other, glowing golden in the fading light. Caption, Family time is the best time. Heart. Not one phone call. Not one text to check on me. I was erased. That night I couldn't sleep. I wandered through my house like a ghost, touching the furniture I'd saved for, the walls I'd painted myself, the photographs covering every surface. I ended up in Vincent's old bedroom, the one I'd kept exactly the way he left it. His auburn pennant still hung above the bed. His high school football trophies lined the bookshelf. I opened his closet, intending nothing in particular, when something fell from the top shelf. An envelope. Old, yellowed at the edges, with my name written on the front in handwriting I didn't recognize. I picked it up slowly, turning it over. It had never been opened. My pulse quickened as I slid my finger under the seal and pulled out the papers inside. Scholarship applications from Vincent's junior year of high school, forms I'd never seen before. And at the bottom, a handwritten note. Mrs. Beasley,
These are the backup applications in case Auburn doesn't come through. Please review and sign where indicated. Mr. Patterson, guidance counselor. I'd never signed these. I'd never even seen them. But someone had. The signature line had my name written in careful, deliberate strokes. It wasn't my handwriting. My mind raced. Who had access to this? Who would have forged my signature? And then, tucked behind the applications, I found a sticky note. Recent. New. In Jasmine's handwriting. Ask V about the house deed. How is it titled? Can we contest? The room tilted. If someone excluded you the way Jasmine excluded me, what would you do? Would you walk away or would you fight back? Comment below. I read every single one because what I did next would either save me or destroy what was left of my family. And I had to decide fast.
I didn't sleep that night. I sat at my kitchen table until sunrise, the envelope spread out in front of me like evidence at a crime scene. The forged signature, Jasmine's note about the house deed. My house, the one my husband and I bought in 1979, with every penny we'd saved. The one I'd nearly lost twice, once when he died, once during the recession. The house I'd fought to keep so Vincent would have stability, roots, a place that would always be home. And Jasmine wanted to know if she could contest it. I picked up my phone and dialed the one person I knew would tell me the truth. Phyllis answered on the second ring. Ruth? Girl, it's 6 a.m. You okay? I need to see you. Now. She was at my door in 20 minutes, still in her bathrobe, carrying 2 cups of gas station coffee. Phyllis had been my best friend since our boys played Little League together 30 years ago. She knew my secrets, my fears, my heart. I showed her everything. The forged signature, the note. She read it twice, her jaw tightening. Ruth, baby, this is serious. This is fraud. I know. Have you confronted them? Not yet. Phyllis set down the papers and looked at me hard. There's something else you need to know. My stomach dropped. What? Last month, I was at the county clerk's office getting copies of my deed. You remember for that refinance I told you about? She paused, choosing her words carefully. And I saw Jasmine there, at the records counter, asking questions about property titles. The coffee in my hand went cold. What kind of questions? I couldn't hear everything, but I heard her say your address. She was asking if there were any liens, if there were multiple names on the deed, how transfers work. My vision blurred at the edges. She's been planning this. For a while, it seems like. I pressed my palms flat against the table, trying to steady myself. Why didn't you tell me? Because I didn't want to believe it, Phyllis said quietly. I thought maybe I'd misheard. Maybe she was asking for a friend. I convinced myself there was an innocent explanation. There wasn't. I thought about Jasmine's questions over the years. Casual, offhand comments I'd dismissed as polite interest. Ruth, have you updated your will recently? This house must be worth a fortune now with the market the way it is. Do you ever think about downsizing? Seems like a lot of space for one person. She'd been circling me like a vulture, waiting. What are you going to do? Phyllis asked. I looked down at the papers. The lies, the manipulation, the cold calculation behind every smile Jasmine had ever given me. I had 2 choices. Confront them now, lay it all out, and hope for an explanation, or gather more evidence. Build a case so airtight they couldn't lie their way out of it. My heart wanted confrontation, but my head knew better. I need proof. Real proof. Not just suspicions and overheard conversations. Phyllis nodded slowly. Then you need to be smart about this. I already had an idea forming. Vincent and Jasmine lived in a gated community 20 minutes from my house,
a sprawling neighborhood with manicured lawns and 3-car garages. They'd invited me over exactly twice in the past year, both times for mandatory holiday gatherings. But I still had the gate code. Vincent had given it to me years ago for emergencies. Maybe it was time for an emergency. I'm going over there. When? Today, this afternoon, unannounced. Phyllis grabbed my hand. Ruth, be careful. If they're as calculated as you think they are, they're not going to admit anything. I know, but I have to try. I spent the rest of the morning preparing. I baked a peach cobbler, Vincent's favorite, using my grandmother's recipe. It would give me an excuse for showing up, a reason that couldn't be questioned. As the cobbler cooled on my counter, filling the kitchen with cinnamon and brown sugar, I thought about all the times I'd made this dessert. Vincent's 16th birthday, his graduation party, the night before his wedding. Food had always been my love language. Comfort, care, connection. Now, it was going to be my cover. At 3 o'clock, I loaded the cobbler into my car and drove to their neighborhood. My hands gripped the steering wheel so tightly my knuckles went white. The gate code still worked, the arm lifted, and I drove through past the identical brick colonials and professionally landscaped yards. Vincent's house sat at the end of a cul-de-sac, a 2-story with black shutters and a perfectly edged lawn. Jasmine's white Range Rover sat in the driveway. They were home. I parked on the street, grabbed the cobbler, and walked up the driveway on shaking legs. But as I reached the front door, I heard something that made me freeze. Voices. Coming from the back of the house. The side gate was open, just a crack, and I could see through to the patio. Jasmine and Vincent were sitting outside, their backs to me, drinks in hand. I should have knocked, should have announced myself, but something told me to wait, to listen. I moved closer, staying hidden behind the fence, and that's when I heard it. Jasmine's voice, sharp and frustrated. Once she's in the nursing home, the house is ours anyway. The cobbler nearly slipped from my hands. I pressed myself against the fence, heart hammering, barely breathing. Vincent's voice came next, quieter, uncertain. I don't want to talk about this right now. We have to talk about it, Jasmine snapped. She's 72, Vincent. How much longer do you think she can keep up that house? She's alone, she's getting older. It's just a matter of time. She's not helpless, Jasmine. I didn't say she was helpless. I said she's aging. And when she can't manage anymore, that property becomes ours. But we need to make sure everything's in order. No surprises, no complications. What are you suggesting? I'm suggesting we be proactive. Talk to her about moving into a senior community, somewhere with support, medical staff on site. Frame it as concern for her safety. Vincent said nothing. And once she's settled, Jasmine continued, her voice cooling, we renovate the house, maybe rent it out, build some passive income, or sell it and use the equity for the kids' college funds. That house is sitting there, wasted on one old woman who's too stubborn to admit she needs help. Old woman. Wasted. Stubborn. My hand started trembling so hard the cobbler dish rattled. I set it down on the ground, fumbling for my phone. I opened the voice recorder app with shaking fingers and hit record just as Jasmine spoke again. She can't handle it forever. We need that equity, and honestly, the sooner we handle this, the better for everyone, including her. I just don't know if... Jasmine, your mother has had her time in that house. 50 years, right? That's more than most people get. Now it's our turn, our family's turn. You can't let guilt hold us back from securing our future. I pressed the phone closer, making sure it caught every word. What about the deed? Vincent asked. It's still in her name. That's what I'm working on. There are legal ways to handle it. Power of attorney, trust transfers, conservatorship if needed, but we need to move carefully. If she gets suspicious, This gets complicated. Conservatorship. The word hit me like a fist to the stomach. They wanted to declare me incompetent, take control of my assets, put me in a home against my will. All so they could sell my house? I backed away from the fence slowly, cobbler forgotten, every instinct screaming at me to run. My vision blurred. From tears or rage, I couldn't tell. I made it back to my car on autopilot, hands shaking so badly I could barely get the key in the ignition. The drive home passed in a fog. Streetlights blurred into streaks of gold. My hands gripped the wheel so tightly I'd have bruises the next day. When I pulled into my driveway, I sat there for a long moment, staring at my house. The house my husband died trying to keep. The house I'd fought for, bled for, sacrificed for. The house my own son wanted to take from me. I walked inside, locked the door behind me, and went straight to my bedroom closet. On the top shelf, behind shoeboxes and old sweaters, sat a small, fireproof safe. I pulled it down, hands steadier now, and punched in the code. Inside, my will, my deed, birth certificates, marriage license, and at the bottom, a blue folder I'd prepared years ago, but never thought I'd need. I opened it slowly. Inside were account statements, legal documents, proof that this house, this life, was mine and mine alone. But more than that, insurance. I'd always believed family took care of each other, that blood meant loyalty, that love was enough. But I'd learned something crucial in the last 3 days. Love without respect is just a hollow word. And sometimes the people who should protect you are the ones you need protection from. I pulled out my phone and listened to the recording again. Jasmine's voice, cold and calculating. We need that equity. The sooner we handle this, the better for everyone, including her. My finger hovered over the delete button. Would you have confronted them right then, stormed back to that house and played the recording in their faces? Or would you have waited, built your case, protected yourself first? Tell me in the comments what you would have done. Because what I decided in that moment would determine everything that came next. I didn't delete the recording. Instead, I saved it, backed it up to 3 different places, and reached for the phone. I had a lawyer to call and a plan to put in motion. The strange bank call from weeks ago suddenly made perfect sense. I needed answers. First thing Monday morning, I drove to First National and asked to speak with the branch manager. Monica Green ushered me into her office, closing the door behind us. "Miss Beasley," she said, her voice hushed, "I'm glad you came in. We've had some concerning activity on your accounts." "What kind of activity?" She pulled out a folder. 2 weeks ago, someone came in with power of attorney documents. They tried to add themselves as a co-owner to your checking and savings accounts. My blood ran cold. Who? A woman named Jasmine Beasley. She claimed to be your daughter-in-law and said you had authorized her to manage your finances due to... Monica hesitated. Cognitive decline. Cognitive decline. I gripped the edge of her desk. I never signed any power of attorney. We know. The documents looked suspicious. The notary seal wasn't registered in our system. When we called the notary's office to verify, they had no record of it. She slid a paper across the desk, a photocopy of the forged document with my signature at the bottom, the same handwriting from Vincent's scholarship forms. We blocked the attempt and filed a report. It's fraud, Mrs. Beasley. You could press charges. I stared at the forgery, feeling something shift inside me. Not just anger, something deeper, more complicated. I remembered a story Jasmine told at dinner once about growing up in a trailer park outside Nashville, her mother working 2 jobs, watching wealthy families in nice cars while she wore hand-me-downs. "I promised myself I'd never worry about money again," she'd said. For a brief moment, I almost felt pity. But then I remembered her text, "You're not family." The way she'd hidden my fruitcake behind cereal boxes. The cold calculation in her voice. Once she's in the nursing home, the house is ours. Monica leaned forward. "Mrs. Beasley, would you like to file a police report?" Before I could answer, my phone buzzed with a text from Vincent. "Ma, can you come over next Monday at 7? Jasmine and I want to have a family meeting. Important stuff to discuss." 7 days. They were planning their next move, unaware I'd discovered their scheme. I looked up at Monica. "Not yet. I need to speak with my attorney first." I left the bank clutching copies of the forged documents, my hands steady with resolve. In my car, I dialed a number I hadn't called in years. "Gerald Monroe's office?" "This is Ruth Beasley. I need to see Gerald tomorrow morning and tell him to bring trust paperwork. It's urgent." Gerald Monroe's law office hadn't changed in 15 years. Dark wood paneling, leather chairs, framed diplomas lining the walls. He'd handled my husband's estate and my will. "Ruth," he said, rising from behind his desk, "it's been too long." I placed the folder of evidence in front of him. The forged scholarship forms, the fake power of attorney, the recording transcript. "My son and his wife are trying to take my house." Gerald's expression darkened as he reviewed the documents. "This is criminal, Ruth." "I don't want to put my son in jail. I want to protect what's mine." For the next 2 hours, we drafted a new estate plan. Gerald explained each document as I signed. "This creates an irrevocable trust for Caleb and Naomi," he explained. "The house goes directly to them when they turn 25. It can't be sold or rented before then, only used as a residence for you or them." "And Vincent and Jasmine?" "They can't touch it, not a penny, not even as trustees." I nodded, signing where indicated. "I'm also updating your life insurance. It will go into an education fund for the children. Again, Vincent and Jasmine cannot access it directly." With each signature, I felt walls going up, protecting what I'd worked for. "One more thing," Gerald said, his voice hesitant. "There's something you should know." My pen paused mid-signature. "Vincent came to see me 3 months ago. He asked about elder incompetency declarations, specifically what evidence he'd need to have you declared legally incompetent." The room tilted sideways. "My own son?" Gerald's face softened. "I'm sorry, Ruth. I told him I couldn't discuss it, but I think you should know." I closed my eyes, absorbing this final betrayal. When I opened them, something had hardened inside me. "Gerald, I need one more thing. Can you draft a letter to be delivered only if they take certain actions? A letter that explains everything I've discovered and what I've done about it?" He nodded slowly. "A dead man's switch. Yes, I need it from a very much alive woman." Sunday afternoon, 2 days before the family meeting, I got a surprise text from Vincent. "The kids are asking for you. Okay if we drop them off for a few hours?" They arrived 30 minutes later. Jasmine didn't even get out of the car, just waved stiffly from the driver's seat. Naomi ran into my arms, her little body warm against mine. "Grandma, I lost another tooth." Caleb followed more slowly, showing me his new video game. "It has dragons, Grandma. Want to see?" For 3 precious hours, I forgot about trusts and betrayals. I taught Naomi to braid her doll's hair the way my grandmother taught me. Caleb showed me his science project drawings, planets orbiting a too large sun. As they ate the cookies I'd baked, Naomi looked up suddenly. "Grandma, why don't you come on trips with us anymore? Like the beach. Daddy said maybe next time." My heart cracked open. I kept my voice steady. "Sometimes grown-ups make decisions that don't make sense, baby, but I'm always here, even when I'm not there. You understand?" She nodded solemnly, chocolate smeared on her chin. After they left, I prepared for battle. I pressed my best dress, navy blue with pearl buttons, polished my low heels, selected pearl earrings my husband gave me on our 20th anniversary. The blue folder went into my purse, alongside the trust documents and a USB drive with the recorded conversation. I made sure my phone was fully charged, the recording ready to play. As evening fell, I sipped chamomile tea at my kitchen table, feeling the weight of tomorrow pressing down. In the bathroom, I stared at my reflection. Gray hair swept into a neat bun, lines around my eyes from 72 years of living. But something else too, something they'd missed. Strength. The kind forged through decades of sacrifice and survival. "They underestimated me," I whispered to my reflection. My phone buzzed on the counter. "Jasmine, tomorrow, 7 p.m. Don't be late." I smiled at the screen. Oh, I wouldn't be late. Not for this. I arrived at Vincent and Jasmine's house at 6:55 p.m., my purse heavy with evidence. Jasmine answered the door in a cream-colored blouse and slacks, her smile tight. "Ruth, right on time. Come in." The house smelled of expensive candles and furniture polish. Too perfect, too clean. Vincent stood awkwardly in the living room. "Ma, thanks for coming." "The kids are at my mother's," Jasmine added, directing me to the dining room. "We wanted to talk privately." The table was set with water glasses and a plate of untouched cookies, props for the performance they'd planned. "Ruth," Jasmine began once we were seated, her voice honey-sweet, "Vincent and I have been talking. We're concerned about you living alone in that big house." I said nothing, letting her continue. "You're getting older, and that place has so many stairs, so much maintenance. We think a senior community might be safer, more appropriate." "Appropriate," I repeated softly. Vincent jumped in. "There's a really nice one close to us, Ma. Willow Creek. Private apartments, but staff available. You'd have people around." Jasmine leaned forward. "And we could help with the house, manage it for you, maybe renovate, modernize. It's such a great location. We could even rent it out for extra income to support your care." "My care," I echoed. Vincent shifted uncomfortably. "It might be easier in the long run, Ma, for everyone." I sipped my water slowly, watching them over the rim of the glass. My silence made Jasmine nervous. She kept talking, faster now. "We've already looked into the paperwork. It's really simple. You just transfer the house to us and we'd handle everything." "Everything," I repeated. Jasmine's composure cracked. "You're being difficult, Ruth. We're just trying to help." "Help me or help yourselves?" Her eyes narrowed. "That house is wasted on you. You're alone. You're old." I reached slowly for my purse. "Let me show you something, Jasmine." I pulled out my phone, tapped the screen, and set it in the center of the table. Jasmine's own voice filled the room. "Once she's in the nursing home, the house is ours. She can't handle it forever. We need that equity."
The color drained from Jasmine's face. Vincent went rigid. You were spying on us? Jasmine sputtered. No, I said calmly. I was bringing you peach cobbler when I overheard you plotting to steal my home. I pulled out the trust papers and slid them across the table. I may be old, but I'm not blind, and I'm certainly not helpless. Vincent grabbed the papers, scanning them frantically. It's an irrevocable trust. The house goes to Caleb and Naomi when they turn 25. It can't be sold or rented before then, and neither of you can touch it. You can't do this, Jasmine whispered. I already have. Vincent started. Ma, I didn't know. I cut him off. You went to Gerald Monroe asking about incompetency declarations. Don't lie to me now. The doorbell rang. Vincent and Jasmine stared at each other confused. That would be Phyllis, I said. I asked her to join us. Jasmine's eyes bulged. You brought a witness? Vincent walked to the door in a daze. Phyllis strode in, carrying another folder. Perfect timing, I said. Phyllis, would you show them the bank fraud documentation? She placed the folder on the table. The attempted power of attorney forgery. First National has a police report ready to file. Jasmine's face contorted with rage. You manipulative. Careful, Phyllis interrupted. The only person who committed a crime in this room is you, honey. Would you have gone this far? Comment justice if you support Ruth standing up for herself against this betrayal. Jasmine's composure shattered completely. Tears streamed down her face, mascara running black. You don't understand what it's like to have nothing, she screamed. Watching your parents lose everything, moving 6 times before I turned 12, wearing thrift store clothes while other kids had designer labels. Her voice cracked. I swore I'd never be vulnerable again, never depend on anyone, never lose what I worked for. For a moment, I saw the frightened girl beneath the designer clothes and perfect makeup. So you became the thing you feared most, I said quietly. Someone who takes from others. Vincent finally found his voice. Jasmine, what have we done? His hands covered his face. Ma, I'm so sorry. I didn't see. Intentions don't erase actions, Vincent. I stood, gathering my papers. Phyllis held the door open. Ma, please. Vincent reached for my arm. I pulled away gently. I'll always be your mother, but you're going to have to earn back the title of my son. The cool evening air hit my face as I walked to my car. Behind me, I heard Jasmine's sobs and Vincent's frantic questions. I didn't look back. 4 months passed in careful distance. Vincent called every week, his voice tentative. How are you, Ma? Small conversations. Baby steps toward rebuilding something broken. Jasmine moved out in September. Vincent told me over coffee at a neutral diner. We're separating, maybe divorcing. She's in therapy. On a Saturday morning in October, he appeared at my door holding a brochure. The Smoky Mountains. Me, you, and the kids. No Jasmine, just real family. I studied his face, the genuine regret there, the exhaustion around his eyes. Actions, Vincent, not words. I know, he said. Let me try. We hiked forest trails turned gold with autumn. I taught Caleb to skip stones across mountain streams. Naomi collected leaves for her scrapbook, pressing them between pages. Around the campfire that night, Vincent's voice broke. I let her convince me you were the problem.
I was so wrong, Ma. The flames cast shadows across his face. My boy, my man, broken and trying. I forgive you, I said, but trust takes time. He nodded, tears reflecting firelight. My phone buzzed in my pocket. A text.
The message was from Jasmine. I'm sorry. Then another. I'm in therapy, working on myself. I don't expect forgiveness. I stared at the screen, surprised, but unmoved. The next morning, Gerald Monroe called. Ruth, you need to know something. Jasmine tried one last thing before the separation. My stomach tightened. What? She attempted to contest the trust in probate court, said you were under undue influence when you signed. And it backfired spectacularly. The trust includes a clause, any legal challenge results in immediate disinheritance for the challenger. She has nothing now. Vincent's moving forward with divorce. I sat down heavily on a fallen log, Caleb and Naomi playing nearby. How do you feel? Gerald asked. Sad, I admitted. I never wanted this. I just wanted respect. Vincent approached cautiously. Everything okay? Gerald says Jasmine tried to contest the trust. His jaw tightened. I didn't know. I swear. I believe you, I said. And surprisingly, I did.
1 year later, my kitchen smelled like Sunday again. Collard greens simmered, cornbread cooled. Caleb set the table while Naomi arranged wildflowers in a mason jar. Vincent carved the roast, his girlfriend Rachel, a kind elementary school librarian, laughing at something Phyllis said. Sunday dinners had returned. The grandkids spent every other weekend with me now. I had converted Vincent's old room into an art studio. At 73, I had taken up watercolors. Clumsy at first, but improving. Vincent rebuilt his life slowly, deliberately. Rachel treated me with genuine warmth, no calculation behind her eyes. Grandma, Naomi asked, flour dusting her nose as we made peach cobbler together, do you think Jasmine will ever come back? I smoothed her braids. I don't know, baby, but we'll be okay either way. Caleb looked up from his homework. I'm glad you're here, Grandma. Later, standing at my kitchen sink washing dishes, I thought about everything. The betrayal, the fight, the reconstruction. Love without respect is just a beautiful lie. But love with boundaries, that's survival. That's strength. I still have that text message saved. You're not family. Sometimes I read it to remind myself. Jasmine was right about one thing. I wasn't part of their family, the one built on manipulation and greed, because I was building my own, one based on truth, respect, and genuine love. Family isn't determined by blood alone. It's who shows up when your heart is breaking, who earns their place through action, not obligation. That evening, I stood by my husband's framed photograph on the mantel. I kept my promise, I whispered. I protected what we built. My phone buzzed. Vincent, love you, Ma. See you Sunday. I smiled at the screen. That's family. This story reached you for a reason. If it moved you, share it with someone who needs to hear it. If you haven't subscribed yet, what's stopping you? Drop a comment and let me know. Lastly, download your ebook titled Suspense and Thriller Stories by clicking the link in the pinned comment. Next time, a woman discovers her husband's secret bank account with her signature forged on it. You won't believe what she does next.